Hi, my name's Diane Farr, and I'm talking about inclusion in the mainstream classrooms. Everybody wants to belong and be a part of their community. In a student's world, the most important part of their community is their neighborhood, school, and their peers that attend their school. This is the idea where inclusion comes in. Inclusion means to be included or a part of, while provided the accommodations or supports to access the same classrooms and curriculum their neurotypical peers do. There are three types of inclusion. There's full inclusion, partial inclusion, and mainstreaming. We're going to talk about full inclusion first. In full inclusion, students attend their neighborhood school, the same class setting as their same age peers. As soon as they enroll in the school, the student's taught in a regular education class all day long. Doesn't matter if you have moderate to severe abilities, you're still included in every activity with supports given in the classroom. If the student needs more supports, the special education teacher comes in the classroom to give the supports. Also, speech and ortho comes into the classroom. A co-teacher is not in the room. The next type of inclusion is partial inclusion. Upon enrollment in the school, the student's educated in the general education classroom for at least 50% of the day. Support services such as speech and ortho, they're given in a separate setting, not in the general education classroom, which means that the student leaves the classroom. They do receive specialized instruction for IEP goals, social skills, or educational supports in a separate setting outside that general education classroom. The last one we have is mainstreaming. And what happens is when they first enroll in the school, they're initially enrolled in special education classes. And any students who show improvement and ability in certain subjects, they attend the regular education classroom for those subjects or subject. In all of them, classroom accommodations are used to assist with any educational barriers, and their IEP goals are always addressed. There are some possible barriers to inclusion in the mainstream classroom. Not delivering the academic content to the student's mode of learning or with the accommodations that are necessary to be successful. Untrained teachers who do not have the attitude of everyone can succeed. Inadequate funding to train teachers on evidence-based practices for students with exceptionalities, and also inadequate funding to provide the necessary accommodations and supports needed to be successful in the general education classroom. How does inclusion affect students on the spectrum and their general education peers? There's some pros and cons. One pro is mainstream students learn empathy and patience. Students on the spectrum have peer role models to mirror. There's more access to the standard curriculum in the general education classroom. Increased parent involvement. Parents are more apt to talk to the teachers and join in when their child is in the general education classroom. And there's higher expectations for every student in the general education classroom. There's also some cons to inclusion for students on the spectrum. Some of them, less one-on-one attention in the general education classroom. Their environment can allow for overstimulation for students on the spectrum. That can lead to non-engagement or behavior problems. Students on the spectrum can have trouble adapting. And already overburdened educators, it lessens the effectiveness of lesson delivery for everyone. There's some strategies to promote inclusion in the general education classroom. The three strategies we're going to talk about are preventive, supportive, and corrective. Preventive strategies: visual schedules for the students, consistency every day, same thing every day. Inform student in advance if a change in schedules is made. Arrangement of the classroom to prevent sensory overload. Plan for preferred activities after the student finishes the non-preferred activities. You use social stories to promote behavioral or social issues. And if necessary, use PECS cards to allow students to express their ideas and their wants. There's also supportive strategies. Set clear behavioral expectations for all classroom routines and lessons. Again, consistency every day, same thing. Use graphic organizers for the student to put their thoughts in sequential order. Ask multiple questions throughout the lesson the student absolutely can answer. Allow nonverbal group responses such as whiteboards, thumbs up, thumbs down. One last strategy is the corrective. If you use the others, the corrective is not often has to be used. Provide reinforcement when student is showing appropriate classroom behavior. Provide reinforcement when student is communicating. And provide prompts to assist the student with beginning challenging activities. There's research that supports inclusion in the classroom setting. The research says that educational and social growth for students on the spectrum are higher when included in a mainstream classroom. Inclusion provides for peer role models for the student to mirror and learn effective social skills. It fosters friendships and a sense of belonging for the included students and their peers. Teaches compassion and empathy for everyone. And students who offer peer support, they showed an overall higher academic achievement in tests. There's a higher rate of engagement in the general education classrooms for students in inclusion, thus achieving higher achievement scores on the test for students in inclusion. The next slide is going to show you the resources that show the benefits of inclusion in the classroom. How can you find out more about inclusion if you're so inclined? Visit these websites. They'll tell you the benefits of inclusion for students that are on the spectrum.